When she finally spoke the truth about you, the room went silent. Listen closely. This message did not arrive by accident. There is a reason your spirit feels alert right now, because a truth you did not speak has already begun speaking for you. And what I am about to reveal is what shifted everything the moment her words left her mouth. Before she spoke, there was tension. Unspoken glances. Questions that circled you like shadows but never dared to land. You felt it. The weight in the air when you entered rooms, the pause in conversations, the way people sensed something about you they could not explain. They watched you quietly. They measured you incorrectly. They tried to fit you into labels that made them comfortable. But truth has a sound. And when she finally allowed it to escape her lips, the sound was so heavy, the room could not hold it. She said what no one else was brave enough to admit. She said you were different. Not arrogant. Not lucky. Not pretending. Chosen. And the silence that followed was not confusion, it was recognition. Some felt exposed. Some felt relieved. Some felt afraid. Because when truth enters a room, it rearranges power. You see, she had been holding this in for a long time. Watching how doors opened for you without force. How resistance softened when you spoke calmly. How chaos around you seemed to organize itself without explanation. She noticed how people revealed themselves around you. How masks slipped. How intentions surfaced. How lies became uncomfortable in your presence. And when she finally spoke, it wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Truth never shouts. It simply stands. The silence that followed was sacred. Because everyone felt it at the same time. You were not operating on the same frequency as the rest of them. And this is where the shift began. From that moment forward, you were no longer invisible. No longer underestimated. No longer misunderstood in the same way. But hear me, this is not about admiration. It is about alignment. Some in that room felt drawn closer to you. Others felt the urge to distance themselves immediately. Both reactions were correct. Because when truth is spoken about you, it becomes a mirror. And not everyone is ready to see what they are standing next to. You may have sensed it afterward. The way conversations changed. The way certain people grew quieter around you. The way others suddenly sought your approval or presence. That was not coincidence. That was the aftermath of revelation. And here is the part that matters most. She did not speak to elevate you. She spoke because she could no longer deny what she saw. Your consistency confused them. Your restraint unsettled them. Your silence carried more authority than their noise. And when she said it out loud, the energy shifted permanently. If this message is resonating, let it anchor into you. You don't need to announce who you are. You don't need to defend your path. Truth will continue to speak on your behalf, often through unexpected mouths. Stay with me. There is more unfolding behind what she said. Because what went silent in that room was only the beginning. Something else was awakened. Something someone tried to suppress. And in the next moment, another realization surfaced. One that will explain why certain people can no longer look at you the same way. Listen carefully. Because what comes next changes how this story truly ends. The silence did not break quickly. It lingered, thick, charged, almost reverent. And in that stillness, something unseen began moving. What happened after she spoke was far more important than what she said. Because when truth enters a space, it searches every heart present. Some tried to laugh it off. Some shifted in their seats. Some avoided your eyes entirely. They were not reacting to her words, they were reacting to the confirmation of something they had already felt but refused to face. You see, many of them sensed it long before that moment. They noticed how you were not easily influenced. How praise didn't intoxicate you. How pressure didn't bend you. They watched you endure quietly. They watched you choose restraint when reaction would have been easier. They watched you walk through moments that would have broken others, and still remain composed. And that unsettled them. Because strength that doesn't announce itself is dangerous to fragile egos. When she spoke the truth, it exposed an imbalance. Not in you, but in them. Suddenly, excuses collapsed. Comparisons stopped working. The familiar hierarchy they relied on began to wobble. Some realized, in that instant, that you had outgrown the version of them they were comfortable controlling. Others realized something more uncomfortable. They had misjudged you, and benefited from it. Your humility allowed others to feel superior. Your patience gave them time to delay accountability. Your silence protected them from facing themselves. But the truth she spoke shattered that illusion. Now they could no longer pretend they didn't see you. And here is what most people don't understand. Recognition is not always admiration. For some, recognition feels like threat. They began replaying past interactions with you. Reinterpreting moments. Second-guessing things they once felt confident about. Words they spoke casually now felt heavier. Decisions they made around you now felt exposed. Because when truth arrives late, it brings clarity with consequences. You may have felt it afterward. A subtle shift in how people approached you. The careful tone. The guarded energy. The sudden politeness layered with distance. That was not respect alone. That was recalibration. They were adjusting to the realization that you are not someone to be underestimated, manipulated, or dismissed. And this is where separation quietly begins. Not everyone who recognizes your light is meant to stay close to it. Some will try to reinsert themselves with compliments. Others will retreat and speak from a distance. A few will attempt subtle resistance, questioning, doubting, minimizing what was said. But hear me clearly. Once truth is spoken, it cannot be unspoken. The room went silent because everyone felt the finality of that moment. And even she, who spoke the truth, was changed by it. She did not expect the weight of her words. She did not expect how quickly energy would shift. She did not expect how exposed she would feel afterward. Because speaking truth requires courage, but living with it requires alignment. From that moment on, she could no longer pretend neutrality. She could no longer sit comfortably in indecision. She had chosen a side. Whether she realized it or not. And you? You did nothing differently. That is what makes this so powerful. You didn't argue. You didn't explain. You didn't step forward to claim anything. You let truth stand on its own. That is the mark of divine authority. If you feel a resonance right now, remain present. Let this message anchor you. You are not meant to chase validation. Truth is already chasing alignment around you. And if this message speaks to you, stay connected, stay aware. Even something as simple as acknowledging it quietly helps anchor what is unfolding. Because what followed that silence was not peace. It was realization. Someone else in that room began to see something too. Something they had tried to ignore. Something that made them deeply uncomfortable. And in the next moment, a hidden intention surfaced. One that explains why the energy around you is about to shift again, suddenly, and without warning. Listen carefully. Because what comes next reveals who was never on your side to begin with. The realization did not announce itself loudly. It crept in like a chill, subtle, unmistakable, impossible to ignore. And I tell you this with precision. The moment after truth is spoken is when intentions are exposed. One person in that room felt it deeper than the rest. Not inspiration. Not admiration. Fear. Because while others were processing who you are, this one was realizing what they had done. They replayed their history with you in seconds. Every dismissal. Every quiet undermining. Every moment they assumed you would stay small, silent, compliant. And suddenly, those memories felt dangerous. You see, this individual had built comfort on the idea that you were unaware. That your patience meant ignorance. That your kindness meant weakness. But when she spoke the truth aloud, something snapped inside them. They realized you had always known. That awareness, your awareness, is what terrified them. Because the most unsettling thing to someone who manipulates subtly is discovering the other person was never blind. They noticed how you never reacted impulsively. How you listened more than you spoke. How you stepped back instead of clashing. And now they understood. You weren't retreating. You were observing. This is why their energy shifted first. Their posture stiffened. Their breathing changed. Their eyes avoided yours. Not because you said anything, but because truth activated memory. They remembered moments when you gave them chances they didn't deserve. Moments when you protected the peace instead of exposing reality. Moments when you could have spoken, but chose restraint. And now that restraint felt like judgment. Understand this. Silence, when chosen consciously, carries authority. That person felt exposed without a single accusation being made. Others in the room sensed the tension but couldn't name it. They felt something tighten, like an invisible thread pulled too far. That was the unraveling. Because when one hidden intention surfaces, it disrupts the entire field. This individual began recalculating immediately. Not out of growth, but out of self-preservation. They asked themselves, what does she know? How long has this been obvious? Who else can see it now? And here is the truth most never consider. When someone fears exposure, they either retreat, or they attempt control. This is why you may soon notice a shift. A sudden coldness masked as professionalism. A forced friendliness that feels hollow. A subtle attempt to rewrite narratives, plant doubt, or reposition themselves. Not because you changed. Because truth removed their advantage. You are stepping into a phase where masks fall faster around you. Some will approach with sudden respect, hoping to realign before distance grows. Others will distance themselves quietly, choosing silence over accountability. And a few, only a few, will attempt to test you, just once more. Not aggressively. Carefully. They will watch how you respond now that truth is no longer hidden. And this is where divine strategy matters. You are not meant to confront recklessly. You are not meant to explain yourself endlessly. You are not meant to defend what truth has already confirmed. Your presence is enough. Your consistency is enough. Your calm unsettles those who rely on chaos. If you feel this message locking into place, let it. Stay attentive. Stay grounded. Even remaining connected to this frequency, this awareness, strengthens your position. Because something else happened in that room that very few noticed. While fear surfaced in one, clarity surfaced in another. Someone there recognized you not as a threat, but as alignment. They saw your restraint and understood it. They felt the weight of the silence and respected it. They realized you were not competing, you were positioned. And that realization planted a question in them they have not yet asked aloud. What would change if I stood closer to that truth? This is important. Because while some people are being removed quietly, others are being prepared to step forward. Not to use you. Not to drain you. But to recognize you. This is how divine order works. Exposure on one side, alignment on the other. And soon, a moment will arrive when you will need discernment more than reaction. Because a choice will be presented subtly. Not dramatic. Not obvious. A choice that reveals who has learned from truth. And who is still running from it. Listen carefully going forward. Because the next shift will not happen in a room full of people. It will happen in a private moment. Where someone finally decides whether to speak again. Or stay silent forever. And when that moment arrives, your response, whether spoken or unspoken, will decide how this chapter truly unfolds. The private moment arrives quietly. No audience. No echoing silence. Just a subtle shift you feel before you understand it. And I tell you this now. What happens next will not look dramatic, but it will be decisive. Someone approaches you differently. Not rushed. Not casual. Careful. Their tone is measured. Their words chosen. Their energy alert. This is not coincidence. They have been watching since that room went silent. Processing. Reevaluating. Comparing what they thought they knew about you with what has now been revealed. They are standing at a crossroads, whether they admit it or not. You see, truth demands response. Silence after truth is a decision. Approach after truth is a declaration. This person has realized something important. You are not someone they can approach with half-truths anymore. So they test the waters, not with questions about the past, but with small disclosures. Minor honesty. Careful vulnerability. They want to see how you hold truth now that it has been named. Do you retaliate? Do you expose? Do you retreat? But here is the divine advantage you carry. You already know who you are. That steadiness changes the entire exchange. Your calm disarms. Your lack of urgency unsettles. Your grounded presence communicates something without words. I do not need to prove anything. And this is where power subtly shifts. Because people expect reactions. They expect defense or offense. They expect emotional cues they can read and manage. But when you respond with clarity instead of emotion, with boundaries instead of explanations, with presence instead of performance. They realize you cannot be controlled. This is the moment where some people choose alignment, and others choose distance. Not because you push them away, but because your frequency no longer allows comfort in deception. You may notice them hesitating mid-sentence, adjusting their words, watching your eyes for approval or resistance. That is discernment awakening in them. And understand this clearly. Not everyone who approaches you now is an enemy. Some are simply realizing they must evolve, or step aside. Truth matures people quickly. But there is another figure in this unfolding that requires your attention. Someone who has remained silent since that moment in the room. They did not react. They did not comment. They did not approach. They observed. This person carries influence, not always visible, but effective. They are not impulsive. They do not reveal their thoughts easily. But they are deeply perceptive. They noticed how you handled the silence. How you did not capitalize on it. How you did not seek validation. And this unsettled them in a different way. Because they recognize authority when they see it. This individual is now weighing something significant. Whether to acknowledge what they see, or maintain distance to preserve control. They are aware that engaging with you requires integrity. They are aware that manipulation will not work. They are aware that pretending neutrality is no longer an option. And so they wait. This waiting is not passive. It is strategic. They are watching how others respond to you now. Who aligns? Who distances? Who attempts to test you? And soon, they will decide. When they do, the dynamic around you changes again. Because when someone with quiet influence recognizes truth, it does not create noise, it creates momentum. Doors open without announcement. Resistance dissolves without confrontation. Opportunities align without explanation. But hear me carefully. This will only happen if you continue to stand exactly as you are. Do not over-explain. Do not chase clarity from those who are still confused. Do not shrink to make others comfortable with their delay. Your role is not to convince. Your role is to be. If this message is resonating, let it settle. Remain aware. Even a quiet acknowledgement, staying connected to this truth, strengthens your discernment. Because the next interaction will feel different. It will not be cautious. It will not be probing. It will be direct. Someone will finally say what they have been holding back since that room went silent. And when they speak, you will recognize the tone immediately. Not fear. Not flattery. Respect. And that moment will reveal who has truly been watching you with clear eyes. And who has already decided to walk a different path. Stay attentive. Because the final shift is approaching. And it will clarify everything that has remained unspoken until now. The final shift does not announce itself with noise. It arrives with certainty. And I tell you this with authority. What is revealed last is always what holds the greatest weight. When they finally speak, there is no hesitation in their voice. No testing. No performance. Just truth, clear, grounded, undeniable. They say what has been forming since that room went silent. They acknowledge what others sensed but avoided. They confirm what you never needed spoken to believe. And in that moment, something locks into place. You feel it, not as excitement, not as triumph, but as calm recognition. Because this is not about winning. This is about alignment being sealed. The words they speak do not elevate you. They position you. They clarify where you stand, and more importantly, where others now stand in relation to you. Some will hear those words and feel relief. Finally, the tension is named. Finally, the unspoken is acknowledged. Others will feel discomfort rise sharply. Because clarity removes excuses. And excuses were the last shelter for those unwilling to change. What you must understand now is this. From this point forward, people will engage with you differently, even if they never speak of it again. You have crossed an invisible threshold. You are no longer perceived as someone discovering their power. You are recognized as someone who walks with it. This changes dynamics permanently. You will notice it in subtle ways. Requests become more respectful. Resistance becomes quieter. Energy around you either aligns or withdraws entirely. This is not isolation. This is refinement. And refinement always feels quieter than chaos. There may be a moment, brief, almost unnoticeable, where you wonder if you should say more. Clarify. Explain. Soften the truth for others. Do not. Truth does not need cushioning. Those meant to understand will. Those not ready will distance themselves, and that is protection, not loss. You were never meant to be accessible to everyone. You were meant to be clear. And now that clarity has been witnessed, spoken, and anchored, your role shifts subtly. You are no longer waiting for recognition. You are discerning access. Who has earned proximity to your presence? Who respects your silence as much as your words? Who moves with integrity even when no one is watching? These answers will reveal themselves quickly now. Because when truth is established, time compresses. What once took months to surface will take days. What once lingered unresolved will resolve itself without effort. This is divine order. And here is what I want you to hear most clearly. You did not orchestrate this moment. You did not manipulate perception. You did not demand acknowledgement. You became consistent. And consistency is what calls truth forward. If there is a sense of quiet strength settling into you as you hear this, allow it. This is not pride. This is grounding. Stay humble. Stay observant. Stay unmoved by reactions, positive or negative. Because the room that once went silent has now done its work. The truth has landed. The shift has occurred. The roles have been clarified. From here on, you walk forward lighter, not because things are easier, but because clarity removes unnecessary weight. And as you move into what comes next, remember this. You will not need to announce when you enter rooms anymore. People will feel it before you speak. And the ones who matter will already be listening. Not for explanations. Not for proof. But for direction. Remain steady. Remain aligned. Because the silence that once followed truth has now become something else entirely. It has become recognition. And what unfolds from here will confirm everything you already knew, long before anyone else had the courage to say it aloud.